says the alleged father is not excluded as the biological father of the fetus.
That mean you're the father. Babe, that's mean you're the father.
Is not
You're the father.
That make me feel like I wasted my whole. No. Every time I'm going into bullshit like reality TV, thinking, it's for Rock. It's for Rock. Rock gonna go crazy. You think anybody else?
With fresh.
Their connection seems to be at an all-time high in light of new information that Chan may have fabricated her child's DNA test to establish Blueface's paternity. However, given that Blueface is exposing her for attempting to baby trap him and dragging her for dirt, it looks like Chan has been completely exposed, and the internet is going crazy over this drama. Their predicament became even stranger if you already found it strange.
And Chrisean liked it. Do y'all see the resemblance? That's the baby, and that's the ex-boyfriend. She got his height.
So
Thus, it seems that the battle between Chrisean and Blueface has peaked. I don't think anyone could have predicted these odd outcomes given how awful their tale has been. Our expectations were already very low because these two had a history of making fun of one another on social media and even throwing their hands in public. Blueface has been yelling from the rooftops that he is not the father since day one, but we all kind of dismissed it because we thought he was just being his messy self in search of drama, even though they continually exceeded themselves. This makes the scenario intriguing. However, the situation is particularly unfortunate because Blueface is again reiterating his assertion that Chris is not the father. Recently, Anne came under fire for allegedly falsifying her child's DNA test. Now, where is Maury? Cran swiftly refuted any paternity claims after announcing her pregnancy, stating, "To answer your questions, yes, I and Rock are officially done. I injected it, but it was clearly not provided before she stated that she was expecting someone else's child, not mine. Everything is business. I knew through a DNA test that Rock wasn't a blue-faced kid. He had dated 10 other men in the past. Yeah, since he adamantly disputed being the father and refused to acknowledge the child as his own until Chon had a DNA test to confirm his paternity, he did not express any legitimate concerns about anything of the type. This occurred on the reality TV program after Chon ultimately agreed to a DNA test that showed Blueface was the father. Supposed
father is not excluded as the biological father of the fetus.
That mean you're the father. Babe, that's mean you're the father.
Is not
You're the father.
We assume.
Given that Blueface is Chan's father, we thought he would eventually grow up and treat Chan with more respect. Everyone is aware of Blueface's awfulness, so this isn't shocking. He didn't even show regret for reprimanding Chan, and his actions just got worse. Then he texted Chan in a disparaging manner saying, "I will always cheat. I won't even bother to." Additionally, he attempted to get her to terminate the pregnancy, but when she refused, he lost it and started a bizarre drama. He stated on Twitter that he would never pay child support and that he didn't want the child. "Hide it for real," he said. "We will run into issues if we have a baby, so you don't want to be cooped up at home with one while I'm working on the next big thing. Who's the judge in my child support case?" He continued to repeat that he didn't want a child with a crayon for months after I told this girl that I didn't want one. You had better establish the price because he caused her a lot of worry and made her consider everything during their pregnancy. Surged. He didn't try to hide his indifference in having the child, and she was trying to influence my decisions to do otherwise. This is where things start to get really juicy. Chon was in Miami having a time with his other baby mom, Jaden Alexis, also known as Stewie, when she went into labor. He suddenly changed his mind and began acting very nervous, even threatening, to take action as soon as her little bundle of joy made his dramatic entrance into the world. The oddest part of the entire situation is that Chon gave the child her first and last name on the birth certificate instead of Blueface's. His full name is Chon Malone Jr. As a result, Cran would have taken the B away from her if he hadn't followed through on his promise. This caught the attention of several people because Blueface is a certified all things considered. Chon spent 9 months of her life trying to convince Blueface to embrace the idea of having a kid with her. despite the fact that he was the baby daddy. She then goes back and removes his name from the birth certificate. It would be easier to see why it appears a little odd, given that she mentioned that they had split up when she was pregnant. However, at this point, anarchy breaks out. They appeared to be having a relationship, and they got back together a week after Blueface was born. She even visits Chris Shaw and the baby in his most recent music video, showcasing their positive relationship. She traveled to Baltimore by plane. Gran posted a picture of the father and son together on social media with the message, "Daddy and I," after he had met the baby. When she chose to include him on the birth certificate, despite the fact that it didn't make much sense at the time, things finally reached a breaking point. A few days earlier, Blueface posted a picture of the baby's genitalia to show that he had a hernia on Twitter after a heated argument in which he tried to accuse her of being an unfit mother. He criticized Chan's inaction on Twitter, saying, "The baby still hasn't had the surgery for his hernia, and she is lying about him being healthy and not having a pee because of the hernia in his uterus." He continued saying, "This chick never stops talking, even though I try to act appropriately to keep things private. She is unsuited, so leave me alone, you crack baby." The mother, who is impoverished, has been delaying the treatment and skipping appointments. She frequently talks about me and my SE on this site, and her genitalia are enormous. Get another writer as soon as our son Essie is fixed. Tag her on her page in every post she does, and do anything else you can to prevent her from focusing on me so she may accomplish her desires. When I went to Baltimore, I assumed there would be surgery, but instead they were discussing how she had skipped the appointment and how infuriated this hacker was that she had threatened to arrest and imprison him.
To jail, bro. Being a free man right now. Like, appreciate the time you got right now, because nigga, you're not finna be roaming the world like you thought you were going to be roaming the world.
She also claimed that the child's lack of a name was the reason behind Blueface's abnormal behavior. She remarked on Twitter, "I'm upset because he's a Chrisean Jr., but not a Jonathan Jr. Since I named my child after me, let them know how you would like to raise him. I'm trapped with a manipulator like him. Blue, don't use my child as leverage. Show more consideration for your probation instead. I have documents, so don't assume I'm slow or dumb." This partially brought up the subject of why she is reluctant to officially identify Blueface as the child's father, Jonathan Porter. At last, she was ready to obtain It turns out that she may have fabricated the DNA test while she was pregnant. When Chon's ex-boyfriend came forward and said that Chon had been lying to us the entire time, the situation escalated. He posted side-by-side pictures and asserted that the child wasn't Blueface's, but rather his own. He responded, "Thank God in advance because this stuff is getting crazy," and sent pictures of the child and himself to show how very similar they are. "You are not Blueface's father," he declared. Chan seemed to be confirming the rumors when she claimed on social media that her ex was Blueface's baby daddy. Why would you have a child in Bohr when you and the child's alleged father live in Los Angeles, and the man who claims the child lives in Bohr? Their appearances are similar. When I read about the DNA test, it sounded phony, and I don't think that's my baby, despite Twitter's assertion that I nursed with something off. The test was too much to handle. He said, "I have a baby mama and 2 kids until further notice. I'm saying, more like you than I am. My greatest news of the year is that I'm free." He additionally stated, "I didn't even think about the paper being folded up." If I were crying at this time, I would have also pretended that it wasn't his child because it would be best to keep Blueface out of her life until he got another paternity test and put his name on the birth certificate. He also remarked on how strange it was that when Chong gave him the DNA results, they were already public and assaulted. The Maury test never looks like that paper. All he's going to do is drag that girl through the courts. These folks tremble on the streets and say a variety of things in the drama. Since you're doing the most and you don't deserve it, I would also play the game, "You're not the father," to protect this child. He was prepared to gather proof in order to identify the father of the child and let everyone know that the joke involving Cran and Blueface was becoming old. How does everyone feel about Chrisean? Do you believe she is merely attempting to protect herself and her child from Blueface disclosing your identity, or did she truly lie about being a father? If you believe this drama was crazy, you should watch it. Kindly leave your ideas in the comments section below.